Hello, everyone. Welcome to this event, Market Driven Launches, aligning your team and the market, of course, and accelerating new product revenue. Actually, that's the outcome. Thank you so much for joining me today in this first series of the weekly webinars. If you don't know, we are going to do this every single week with different topics, all of them, based on the diffusion of innovations, which is what we do, right? Let me real quick share my screen and we will start right away. So what's the agenda of today? So 15 minutes webinar. This is a quick webinar for business leaders, specifically designed so that you can stay here for 15 minutes, get what you need, and then you can stay for the Q&A or you can walk away with those learnings. And of course, we will have that Q&A during the last 15 minutes. And who we are, who am I? Well, I'm Jose Bermejo, managing partner and founder of Predictable Innovation Strategy. And we are the living heritage of the diffusion of innovations and the technology adoption lifecycle. And that's because we have in our team the original creator of the Crossing the Chasm frameworks, Warren Schierzinger, and we're implementing go-to-market and launch strategies for B2B technology and SaaS-based product with all those frameworks and all that knowledge. And I'm Jose Bermejo. I said I have wide experience in commercialization and sales, both in the United States and Europe, in B2B software companies. And since 2 years ago, I am focused on helping B2B technology and SaaS products succeed in the market through better positioning and go-to-market strategies. Let's get started. This is a little bit more about us, but you are here for this, right? You're here so that I can help you. So we're talking about market-driven launches, and I want to help you address the typical launch problems that we're seeing after launching more than 200 innovations. In the market, the problems still are the same. So problem one, typical problem we see is that companies start with an idea instead of starting with a need. Well, that is difficult to fix, but you still can fix it, right? So before you go out with an unproven product, what do you do with an unvalidated product or a product that is in an early market? So the market doesn't exist, right? How do you take that product to the market if the market doesn't exist? Well, you validate with the market infrastructure. The market infrastructure concept. This is a key concept that I want you to stick in your mind. This is a concept that Apple, Adobe, and other of hundreds of technology companies that right now are their market leaders, they've been using to communicate and to position their products in the market. Products, brands, innovations, right? So the concept of market infrastructure means this is how a market looks like. And in the very bottom, it's you, it's your technology, it's your company. And at the very top, you have your prospective buyers. And this is formed like a pyramid of layers that are separating you from your prospective buyers. Now, those layers influence each other. And those layers are what drive word of mouth. All the communications are bubbling up like a bubble, layer after layer, until they reach your prospective customers. Of course, you can cut through that with advertising, sales outreach, social networks, and so on, but that won't develop a market position. Market positioning is developed by this ecosystem of players that we call the market infrastructure, right? So, and how they influence each other is from bottom to top. So the more close to you they are, the more kind of, let's say, bias they are for prospective customers because they are very close to you. So by default, everything you say, most of the prospective customers are going to take your communication as bias because you want to sell, right? So this infrastructure helps you to drive credibility because the communications don't start with you. In this case, if you're leveraging this infrastructure, the communications are start in them. And you're sending communications to them, and then they are sending those communications to the market mainly through word of mouth. So they are driving credibility, but you need a lot of work to make that work. That's why this is a strategy. This is not just tactics, right? So examples of these layers influencing buying decisions from bottom to top. So after you have your existing customers, so your existing customers can reference you. Then you have partners and allies. They are not as much close as your customers, but they are still want you to win because they are partners and allies. Then you have complementary suppliers. So for example, a complementary supplier, let's say if you are a CRM, Clearbit could be a complementary supplier, IntraHigh could be a complementary supplier, any forms, HubSpot could be a complementary supplier, right? Even HubSpot, it's also a competition of a CRM, but it could be, then you have educational institutions, industry associations, consultants, industry analyst research firms, and so on. So that's the market infrastructure and the concept that I want you to stick in your mind. So this is an example of a market infrastructure in the XR solution software. So for example, at the very bottom, we have a software in the augmented reality space, and there are players influencing and generating positions in the market, because positioning is a mental process, right? So these players, Gautam, Mitchell, Martin Fowler, they are in press media, they are consultants, they are groups in industry associations, educational institutions, and so on. So if you get their support, they're going to support you and send through word of mouth mostly messages to this infrastructure. So you are going to develop your brand, you're going to position your brand out there, and you are going to amplify your reach, right? Now, why I'm telling you this? Because these are the guys you want to talk to validate your idea. So if you have an idea that doesn't start with prospective customers, as it should be always, start with the needs, with their jobs to be done, at least give a try, at least to try to go to the market infrastructure and understand if they will be willing to support your product launch, your innovation, your new product. And that's a way you validate, because one thing is innovation, another is the adoption. So these people is going to help you drive adoption in the market, or they are not going to help you. They either can hurt you or help you, right? So you want them not hurt you, so you better talk to them and validate, right? So that's the first fix. As you are validating, talking to all of them, you create your positioning to market, which is the positioning in the middle of what is critically important for your customers, the needs, the competitor white spaces, what doesn't exist right now, and what are your strengths. So you can prove what you're saying with your strengths, right? So you create your positioning to market as you are validating, and you create your go-to-market positioning, your go-to-market strategy. And in this go-to-market strategy, you basically have to answer, where should you compete, how should you compete, and how will you win in the market. This is just an example of the tool that we use, right? So we identify data points with Dovetail. You can use Dovetail as your research tool to tag everything and then filter, and then, create your go-to-market and positioning strategy with those data points. Second part of this solution, which is determine your market stage. And this is very important, because this impacts everything in your product launch. So when a market matures, this is the technology adoption life cycle, we have early markets and we have mainstream markets, right? It's critical to determine if what you are doing is creating a new market or entering in an early or emerging market. Is your product something pretty new that needs change, that nobody knows, that is competing with a behavior, is not competing with existing solutions? Or are you entering into a mainstream market? So your launch strategy dramatically changes depending on this. So that's the first thing you have to understand. And how you understand that? Well, talking with the infrastructure, right? To talk with the infrastructure, you determine what is the level of market maturity. Now, because depending on this, you want either to launch your product, in the case that you are introducing your product in a mainstream market, or you want to introduce your technology. And there's a huge difference between both. So a technology introduction in an early market, the goal is to build a complete product, because supposedly your product is not ready for a mainstream market that is averse to risk, that is averse to bugs, that is averse to solutions that doesn't fit their workflow, right? They don't want that. People think that, people that decision makers, they buy technology. They don't buy technology, they buy solutions for their problems, right? But early markets, they are more in the side of I buy product and technology because they transform that product and technology into an advantage because they care about being the first. But the mainstream, they don't care about being the first. They just care about solving a problem in a way that it's not painful, right? So when you're launching a product, talking about the product launch is when you're targeting mainstream. And for that, you need an entire checklist of things to get your product ready and not fail. Because the last thing you want to do when you launch a product is launching it at a scale, having the mainstream knocking your door, and then failing to either selling the product because your sales team is not ready, or selling a product that is not complete for the mainstream with bugs, without support service. They want countless of intangibles. So in a technology introduction, what you need, that your main goal is to educate and develop that market infrastructure, the pyramid, with thought leadership. Whereas in the product launch, your goal is to sell. You want to sell and drive revenue because it is possible. It's still a market exists. There are references. There's competition, or not, but there are at least references of past projects, of past revenues you've done, so on. But in a technology introduction, everything is very uncertain. So you cannot risk go out there to the mainstream and say, hey, I have this, and you don't. They want something that is complete. So two very different approach. In the technology introduction, you build that market relations with the infrastructure and you get them ready for the product launch. So this is a process. It's not one of the other, it's one after the other, right? And depends on the market maturity. Second problem, what is the ideal launch sequence that drives alignment? This one is easy. So first, determine if you should launch a product or introduce a technology. So the sequences are different. First, you have to introduce a technology, you are in early market, and then you develop that, your product, you complete your positioning, your go-to-market strategy, you educate your market, and eventually it will be a point in which you can launch your product. If you're in the mainstream, you launch. I can't stress this enough. Question, when you launch a press release. This question is related with this question also, which is what is the ideal launch sequence that drives team alignment? There are no answers? Okay, fair. I'm listening to you. So when we launch a press release, all right, you know the concept of market infrastructure. So this is the right sequence to drive team alignment in our experience, because it makes perfectly clear what are the different stages to communicate and educate your market, right? But why is that? This comes with a strong foundation on how a market develops. So you are in the very bottom, and then who is the first layer that can trust you more than any other? Your happy existing customers. So where do you want to start when you launch a product? With your happy existing customers, right? So you start there, and with the references of your existing customers that are testing or talking about your potential product, you go to partners and allies. And with the references of partners and allies, you go to complementary suppliers. And with those references, you go to the next layer. This is just an example. So every market has different layers. So please don't take this as your market. You need to analyze what are the layers influencing your market. Maybe you don't have educational institutions, but maybe you have another layer that is not here. That's very important to understand. And then, for example, if a partner provided you with a great quote because they've been testing and so on, you go to an industry association, and that industry association provides you with a testimonial, and then you take those testimonials, and then you go to an industry analyst to try to secure a pre-briefing with the analysts. And then with all of that, you go to press, media, and publications and so on. The answer to this question, when to launch a press release, well, you follow the path of launch and education from bottom to top. So the last one, press, media, and publications, is the press release. So I can't stress it enough, because it's like when I land in a project, everyone is asking me, when can we launch the press release? Okay, press release is the last thing you want to launch. Because if you launch a press release, your product is not ready, you cannot sell it, you are unmanaging the expectations of the market, you're going to mess it. Your brand is going to be broken even before launching the product. And that's the last thing you want to do. So take it slowly, go layer by layer. Now, driving alignment to your team with a workshop. So put your team together in a room and use this Miro board, which, by the way, if any of you wants the board, I can send it to you. Just drop a message here in the webinar chat. So you use these layers on the left. And then you put the organizations and individuals of each layer influencing those buying decisions. The top 10%, because we found that the top 10% of organizations and individuals influence the other 90% of the market. So you want to have those organizations on board. It's okay if you start with the top 40%, because typically if you don't have a big brand, most probably they still don't want to talk to you. The top 10% don't want to talk to you. Then you assign an owner for each layer, and then the kind of collaterals or assets that you are going to use to engage with each of these layers. And of course, your collaterals must have embedded your key positioning messages. That's critical, right? And then your set of activities. So you build from bottom to top your set of activities. So here in the product launch sequence, you will see month 1, existing customers. Month 2, partners analyze. Month 3, complementary suppliers. And then you calendarize all of that in a project management tool or a launch management tool like Get Ignite. And all your team is aligned on the sequence and on the activities. Third problem, I'm sorry because I told you it was 15 minutes. It's the first time I do this webinar. I'm taking more time, sorry. You're free to go, of course, it's your time. How do we get sales to sell the new product? This is the big question, right? You've set the expectations. Management wants you, to generate new business. You have revenue to achieve next year. Everyone is, has their pockets and quotas, but it's very uncertain because you don't have past data of selling this product. There is no market, maybe, right? So you cannot set quotas of something that is that much uncertain. You don't if you are in the phase of technology introduction, right? In an early market. It's all about seeking early adopters. So what you said is quotas of driving early adopters. How many of your ideal clients are going to land? You don't care that much about revenue in this phase, because in this phase is about the set, completing your strategy, positioning and go-to-market, and mostly completing your product, getting all of that ready and getting the market ready through education. So at the same time, you're landing early adopters. You're driving revenue with early adopters, of course. But the goal is not driving revenue. The goal is completing all of that and having early adopters to help you complete all of that, okay? And then in the next phase, which is so when, okay, I don't have to set revenue expectations. When do I set them? At some point. Of course, you have a product launch checklist. So you've been through the technology introduction, and your question now is, yeah, but when should I launch this? How do I know that I can launch, that I can set revenue goals and so on? Here is the checklist. Please go ahead, make a screenshot. But basically, you need first, to focus your strategy, analysis of market opportunities, and that prioritize a list of potential ideal customer profiles. Who is the first target that can enable you to win? Who is the target that can help you, win that segment? Because the product you have really fits with that segment. A detailed description of your top ideal customer profiles, then the positioning platform with a differentiated value proposition, technology, product, market, and company messages. You need a proof of value. That's why you need a technology introduction before launching a product. You want the testimonials of different people in that layer, and of course, testimonials and case studies of clients because mainstream cares about that proof. So you need proof of business value for the launch. The pricing, your market relationships in that pyramid, because they are the ones that are going to amplify your reach during the launch and position your product out there. To me, launch and positioning is the same. Positioning is a verb, right? Launching is a verb. When you're launching, it's about positioning your product in the market through the infrastructure. A press release, a company spokesperson, that's the ideal. You are part of the market infrastructure. Imagine, right, that you can influence all those buying decisions. Try to do that. Then customers who want to help you promote your product, after briefing with analysts, it's one of the top players, right? So you want to be in the analyst papers. All the information available for all the companies so that your company is aligned, and of course, sales enabled and trained. Problem 4, how do you achieve new product revenue expectations? I'm running more because I'm running out of time. Sorry about that. How do you achieve new product revenue expectations? Well, as I said, setting the right expectations mean during the technology introduction, the expectations are about the number of early adopter projects. That's in terms of sales and product is beneficial for everyone. And in terms of marketing, it's about the number of assets that you have co-authored, white papers you have co-authored, blog posts, events you have co-speak, publications. Is how are you participating in that infrastructure to develop your position out there, to develop your brand, to develop the market during the technology introduction. Those are goals that you can put in your OKRs. Now you develop the market, you complete your product, you focus your strategy, you are getting ready for product launch, is when you want to use a revenue approximation with all the learnings to set revenue quotas for the product launch and the years coming, of course. If the market already exists, you can use also references on the TAM, SUM, and so on. So basically, you set them when you have the checklist ready or almost ready. You set revenue when you have the checklist ready. You don't have the checklist ready, let's don't talk about revenue. We talk about early adopters, and we talk about how are we developing and educating the market infrastructure. Now, that was it. It's Q&A time. Sorry, I went 7 minutes out of time. Next time I will improve, I promise. Now I'm here to listen to you all and answer all your questions. Anyhow, I've been talking a lot today, so I won't drop any question extra. So if you guys don't have any question, I very much appreciate your time. Just tell you that I'm launching a course in which in less than 1 week, we will put together this for your team in terms of it's a cohort-based course. So you will have the opportunity to contribute with colleagues in your very same situation, and you will use the Miro boards that we are sharing this and other methods to not only learn, but with Warren and with me, execute this, strategize this. So after 1 week, you get this plan specifically for your product. Well, you get that out of the course. So if you would like to join me, well, you can look for me on LinkedIn and DM me a message. I'm Jose Berco in LinkedIn, Jose Bermejo. And I'll be more than welcome to help you and understand what your questions are and how can I help you. Thank you so much for joining me today. I'll see you soon. And please join our next webinars. There is one webinar coming every single week. And there are exciting webinars with Warren also coming about crossing the chasm. Thank you.